MrRoflWaffles here. If you've been thinking about doing a high round run on Die Machine, but you're not sure if you can handle the penthouse strat now that Treyarch have made a couple of changes to it to make it harder, then this strat in this video could be the perfect one for you. I first saw this from 73 Salmon 73, so shout out to them, and I would basically describe it as a significantly easier strat to sort of micromanage compared to the penthouse strat, but it also is slower as a result. It also has some benefits in that you're using the chopper gunner less, and I believe right now people think that chopper gunners are crashing games at high rounds. So if you did want to avoid using choppers at all, this strat would allow you to do that. They are still useful, so I do recommend having them anyway, but you're going to be using them a lot less. Another benefit, which will actually apply to all of your games, even if you don't run the strat earlier in your match and you just do it at the end, is that expils are so easy when you're doing this, it's crazy. So let's start talking about how you actually do it. Before you start your game, you need to make sure you have at least level 2 on your Ring of Fire skills. This is because tier 1 is going to double the burn damage of the ring itself, which is crucial for this, and tier 2 is going to block projectiles, which is really useful. You actually don't need the tier 3 upgrade here, unlike the penthouse strat, but if you're going to do penthouse at any time in your game, which I am going to recommend, you probably want tier 3 on it anyway. You can pick basically any gun for your loadout weapon, but my recommendation would be the Gallo SA-12 with the attachments tuned to your liking. The reason for this is by the end of setting up, you're going to want to have that triple packed and max rarity because it's super useful for taking down megatons, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So if you do want to spawn in with a different weapon and then just buy the Gallo off the wall, that's fine too. The fastest way to get to around kind of 20, 25 kind of region is to just hold the penthouse, but you don't need a ray gun for this. You're early enough in your game where your regular weapons should kill, and so you should be able to just hold it, and then when you get in a sticky situation, pull out the Ring of Fire and you'll be fine. You'll also get a nice stash of salvage from doing this, which is going to be useful for upgrading that Gallo, and it will be useful for other reasons that we'll mention in a second. You might also be wondering what weapon mod to put on your Gallo, seeing as I've recommended it so strongly. No question, get Deadwire. You are going to eventually want the ray gun for this strat. I mean, it just is nice peace of mind. It makes your life easier, but you don't actually essentially need it. And so if you get to the late 20s and early 30s and you still don't have your ray and you don't want to hold down penthouse anymore because it's just too sketchy, you can start the strat if you want. I'd also recommend you spin the box only once you reach the late 20s, or even just waiting until round 30 plus, because your chances of ray are much higher and you don't want to burn points unnecessarily early in your game. Okay, here's how it works. You're going to get on the truck bed and you're going to stand in the exact spot that I'm showing you right here, where the Fuse Wonder Weapon upgrade box touches the back of the truck. If you don't stand there is a chance that zombies are going to be able to swipe you from the sides, but if you stand in the right spot, as I'm showing you in the gameplay, then zombies are going to instead mantle really slowly on the very back end of the truck, and it's going to give you a huge amount of time to take them down. This is why I said this was like a brain AFK strat. You can literally be on your phone in one hand and just firing your trigger on the other hand and not even really worry that much about dying. It's incredible. It does take the zombies longer to get to the truck bed though, from all their different varied spawn points around the pond, and that's why this is slower than just the traditional penthouse. It's not all going to be down to just shooting the zombies while they mantle though. You are going to be utilizing your Ring of Fire for this, and it's incredible because if you're standing in that exact spot I showed you in the back corner of the truck, then your Ring of Fire is going to kill the zombies while they're mantling up, and you don't even need to shoot them. Even in the highest rounds, you can literally just stand there and they will die in the fire. Now, of course, just to make sure that the kind of horde is controlled, you can shoot them, and I'd recommend that, but I'm just trying to get the point across that the Ring of Fire itself is really strong, and that's why we needed that upgrade on it, by the way, because it doubles that burn damage. Now then, there are a few things that we need to address in terms of how this all works that do make it a little bit harder. It's not completely zero brain activity vegetable sitting on the truck bed. One of them is megatons. Megatons are definitely the thing that make this strat more difficult, and basically when you're on a megaton round, you're going to sweat a little bit compared to every other round where you're just going to be relaxed. When they spawn in, you're going to want to pop your Ring of Fire, pop it straight away, and if you can, take the megaton down ASAP while your ring is still active. If your ring's not ready, or you're just not able to take it down fast enough, maybe it spends too long in the animation, then the most likely thing that's going to be best for you to do is to actually run off the truck bed towards the crash site. While you're doing this, you can kind of take some pot shots at the megaton or at the zombies and try and get your ring charged up so that you're ready to pop it when you get back to the truck bed, which is where you're going to be heading once you've successfully got out of that area so that the zombies are out of the way. This, I would say, is definitely the sketchiest part of the strategy, and it's just because the megatons are annoying, and they'll do this thing if they've split already where they basically just sprint onto the truck bed instead of trying to mantle onto it, and so you need to be really careful once they've split that you don't get overwhelmed in like 2 seconds. You also sometimes might be able to kind of chill while the megaton is whole before you split it, because it's kind of slow in that form, and the zombies slowly mantling on the truck should give you a perfect opportunity to get a load of Ring of Fire charge just to sort of push you over the edge, and then if you can pop your Ring of Fire after that, then you should be able to take both the Megaton and his halves down. The sort of worst case scenario though is that you manage to do all of that and then another one just spawns in on top of you and you're like, oh man, I just dealt with one. Then you can just pull out a chopper gunner if you want to. That is a backup plan that you should have on you at all times. And the other thing I actually recommend, and this is for the entire strat, not just for Megaton rounds, is having stims. It might sound weird, but stims are really cheap, so they don't cost very much salvage at all. And for some of the stuff I'm going to discuss in a second and more, just stims are really, really useful on this strategy. You also might remember that I just said to pick dead wire as well of the ammo mods for your Gallo, your backup weapon, and that's because this thing is going to delete Megatons like crazy compared to the ray gun. Like the ray gun is just nowhere near as effective at taking Megatons down compared to a fully maxed out, full rarity Gallo with dead wire. It's incredibly strong even at the high rounds. I recommend that in a tight pinch. We've talked about Megatons, we've talked about zombies. Let's talk about plague hounds real quick because those things are gonna pop and their gas is gonna hit you while you're standing on there. And honestly, my recommendation here is just take the damage. Assuming that is that when it pops, you're at full health. You will want to keep an eye on your health bar at pretty much all times. You don't need to even look where you're firing most of the time with this strat, so that's not going to be an issue for you. You can keep an eye on that health bar really easily. And then if things do ever get sketch and you are a little bit worried about the fact that that gas is ticking your health down, you can A, run off the truck and reset, or you can just stim. Easy peasy. You should also bear in mind that if you're looking for Ring of Fire charge and you see an insta-kill, think twice, because while Insta is active, your Ring of Fire will not gain charge. That's just a tip that you need to know. There's probably only one other scenario that you can actually get messed up by when you're doing this strat, and that's that sometimes the zombies will just all decide in unison to start throwing their guts at you. This is something Treyarch added to the game to basically try and get back at people that were finding glitch spots and getting out of the map. The zombies try and throw their guts when they think that you're not targetable by regular means. And if this happens, you can jiggle around a little bit on the truck bed and just try and make the zombies realize that you are targetable after all, or you can hop off and hop back on. Just make sure to do it nice and quickly. Your best bet though probably is to just make use of Ring of Fire. And that's because, like I said before, the Ring of Fire, when upgraded in your skill tree, is going to block projectiles. And that means that all those guts that are thrown your way will do nothing. That means that regardless of guts being thrown, you can basically just stand there and let the zombies die in the ring. And you can also use that blocked projectiles feature, by the way, for the Megatons too, if they're causing you trouble. There's one wrinkle to this strat that you might notice when you start doing it that is just a bit weird, and it's that you don't get salvage. For some weird reason, I think it might be to do with them being in the animation of mantling, the salvage rates are just massively reduced, and so any opportunity in your game when you're, for example, running to crash site to evade a Megaton and just picking off a few zombies as you go, should also be seen as an opportunity to grab yourself some salvage when you kill those zombies. The good news is that compared to the penthouse strat, you're going to need armor a lot less in this, so you can literally just get armor between rounds and you should be fine. And as far as ammo goes, every time you run to the crash site, you can buy ammo from the box underneath the plane wing, or if you really want to, you can buy it at the box that's near the tunnel as well. The tunnel is the buildables bench that you're going to be using primarily to grab your chopper gunners and also to craft stims if you need them too. But you're not going to want to do that during the round. You're going to want to do that at end of round wherever possible. Oh, and another thing I should mention is the glitch that happens sometimes with Megatons and Plague Hounds. They basically get a bit confused sometimes, and the Megatons will spawn like outside the map and just kind of stay out there. So you might need to take a look out there at the end of your round to take them down sometimes. And also sometimes Plague Hounds will get stuck in the spawn area of the map, and you'll have to go to the crash site to take them down at the end of a round just to flip it to the next one. Not a big deal, it's just a weird thing that you need to be aware of. And that is basically the strat. Give it a go in your games, guys. Do it as an alternative to the penthouse just so you don't bore yourself to death with that thing. And if you do give it a try and you think that I've missed any important tips in this video, then please drop them in the comment section down below. That way, anyone that's having a couple of issues can maybe get some help there. Thanks, guys. I've been MrRoflWaffles. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.